Where's the little clicker thing? There we go. All right. So we're moving now from the district community grants that all of the criteria for the community grants are established by our district, and it's monitored by sending a one-liner or an overview of it to Dick upon Dick sending out an acceptance date, and then they're all put in queue and we process them. You put your money up front and we reimburse you upon completion, right? Now we're moving beyond that. We're moving to our global grants, and the global grant process is very, very different, okay? I'm going to get this right. Oh, why isn't this working? Is the battery low? I thought you just put a new battery in. You can use mine.
Oh, let me use the battery light is on there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Goes one way. Okay. 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 Oh, you're going too far. Okay. So it's the bottom one, right? Bob. Bottom one. Okay. Okay. No, it's not. Not working. Yeah, I'm yours. It is on. It is on. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just not working. The light's going on, but it's not working. It's there. You were using mine?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try it. Okay, put it on and try. It's not working either. Why is that? And it's on. It doesn't. So there's something we're not doing right. What is it we're not doing right?
I don't care all manual.
Okay. 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 Sorry for the technical challenges here, but we'll try and get it sorted out. Oh, now we have a lovely picture of a storm. Okay. We'll go to the next slide. Go to the meeting. I can just work from here then. I'll work from here and do it manually because we don't want to be wasting a lot of time. And that'll work. The right one, yeah. Okay, so the global grant process is a little bit more challenging, but it's not overwhelming. There are many clubs that will say now that they will not apply for a global grant because the process is absolutely too labor intensive. It does have some challenges, right? It has guiding principles that we do have to follow. It's complex. These are not simple little grants. This is a complex grant. It's a minimum of $30,000 grant and can go up to $200,000. So of course the criteria is going to be far more severe. There's a more thorough review of the grant application. There is a need for clubs to partner costs and grant experience, because when you're dealing with that much money, knowing that your club is responsible for that money, you want to make sure that everything is done in order to give that project maximum opportunity to be successful. Okay. The qualifications, requirements are you have to attend a grant management seminar in the Rotary year prior to the grant year. Now this is the last time for you people who are all going to be qualified. Once you are qualified, and by virtue of your presence here, you will be, next year you do not have to attend a grant management seminar. You re-qualify online, okay? For anyone who is not qualified, then they do have to attend DTA next year, okay? All right. You submit a signed District 5020 Club District Memorandum of Understanding. That you pull off the website, and you have your president and your president-elect sign that and submit it to me. Once that's submitted, and by virtue of this attendance, then both your club and yourselves are qualified. You're then able to write a grant, right? So for this year, this training, it's President's 17-18 and President-elect 18-19. Okay. To maintain qualification, you have to follow the terms of the club memorandum of understanding. You're to appoint a club member committee to manage club qualifications. Now that's really important. We don't, it's not advisable to have any one person operating in isolation of their club. Allow your club members to enjoy the process of developing a project and enjoying the success of that project. And we all know in order to get buy-in from anybody, club members or community, they have to be active participants. So the more people that you involve in your club processes, the more successful that you're going to be. And then you have to fully implement the stewardship practices to prevent misuse of funds, right? Bottom line, if someone wants to steal from you badly enough, they're going to do it. But if you follow all of your stewardship practices, at least you can look at the end result and say, we did everything in our power to ensure that this didn't happen. Okay. So we have to be sure, again, conflict of interest. When a Rotarian benefits financially or personally from a grant, benefit can't be a direct. Rotarian benefits are indirect, an associate of the Rotarian benefits. All right. Examples, member of an executive in NGO is a Rotarian and seeks funding for the project. I'm going to use my own club as an example. The director of Mercy Ships Canada is a member of my Rotary Club. The executive director of Mercy Ships Canada. All right. Have you heard of Mercy Ships Canada? All right. So my club wanted to develop a project to provide a Rotary room on the Mercy Ships Canada ship that is currently in Cotonou, Benin. So they developed this grant process without any input from the executive director. The club prepared the proposal, and they filed a conflict of interest forms. So everyone knew at RI and everyone knew in the community that yes, the executive director is a member of our club, but the executive director is a salaried position from Mercy Ships Canada. The executive director does not make a commission off of every donation made to Mercy Ships Canada. So then there was not a problem, right? So that's a pretty good example, because with all our clubs, we have many mayors, councillors, executive directors, right, or business owners. So as long as you're upfront, there's not a problem. Okay, global grants fund. Global grants fund large-scale projects and activities that have to align within the area of focus. They respond to a need benefiting from the community that the community has identified. And now RI is requiring a community assessment, an actual community assessment for a global grant approval, which makes perfect sense, doesn't it? We don't want to lay anything on a community. Nobody likes to be told what they want and need. We all like to ensure that whatever happens is what we decide in our community is necessary. Okay? We want to make sure that all of our projects are sustainable after we've concluded our work. Sustainability means training. You have to have that training component so that you give the community the privilege of owning that project and being able to sustain it, and then have measurable results. And that comes right out of your grant management manual, which is on the ROI website. Yes?
There's very little guidance on how to perform a community assessment. Let's say we're trying to do a community assessment in Anthony. We could spend as much on the community assessment as we would on the whole project.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay? But thank you for reminding me. And if I miss it, you bring it up. All right? Thank you. Okay, so global grant, minimum size $30,000. It's approved by RI. It's not approved by us, right? So when you're starting the process, it's advisable that you send an overview to me so that I can be aware that this is what you're doing. But you don't have to. You can put it online, and I make a practice of checking every week to see who is doing what. But quite often I'll find that a global grant has been entered and has been given a number, and then I read through it. And then I'll look at it, and if I have questions, I'll call you. But it could go through all the way up to the submission level and my not knowing about it. But once it's submitted, then I get to, I have the obligation to authorize it. So if something's not right, then we can't authorize it, right? But RI is the one that approves it. And they don't approve it based on a value. They don't compare one global grant application to another and say this one is of more benefit. It's whoever's in line and has all their ducks in a row. They get themselves approved, and you get all your ducks in a row, and we tag money for you. Okay? It can be a multiple year project, but it still requires annual reporting. Yes?
The minimum is $30,000.
Yes.
The maximum you said was $200,000.
Yep.
Is that per year or per grant? If it's a multi-year, can you do $200 per year for a couple of years?
No. No. A grant is a beginning and an end. A grant is a beginning and an end. So if you want to do A, B, and C, you need to do A first, beginning and end. B, and C, right? Yeah. Okay. It requires a host club. You must have a host club in the country, all right? You must have a host club that is able to supervise that project, because remember, you're on the hook for the money, right? It requires club training and MOU with the district, with the host district, right? They have to be qualified. And RI is the one that will say whether they're qualified or not. It requires active participation amongst Rotarians. That's where your sustainability, your community assessment is concerned. It's advisable that you have your team of Rotarians go to the country and connect with the community leaders. Make your contacts, make your relationships, form the trust amongst the Rotarians and the community leaders. I mean, we all travel every year. We're all over the world. I have you on Facebook. I know where you're going. So, so when you're there, do a little work. You do a lot of work, but do some PR work. Okay. It can be a project of multiple clubs, and most often is a project of multiple clubs. It can also be a project of multiple districts. It's a lot of money. Some of the clubs to raise $5,000 is difficult. So get a few clubs together. The minimum acceptance for a global is a $10,000 club pocket of money, but it doesn't have to be from one club. Okay? It can be a project, multiple clubs, and all processes are internet-based. There's no paper involved. So when you're going through the process, it isn't that difficult because it tells you there's a series of lines, and as soon as you've finished one line, you go on to the next line, right? And the color changes from gray to blue. So you know when you're finished, go blue, 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 all the way down, then it comes to submit, right? Press the submit button. I then get a notification from RI saying, this grant is ready for your approval. I look at it, and I see, okay, there's 3 districts involved here. I'm going to be the last one to approve. I have to be sure, if you say you're getting DDF from other districts, I want to see the approval for that DDF from the other districts and the approval from all of your committee entered. Once I see all of that, then I will approve it, and then I email the DG, and the DG is the final one to approve. But again, RI has done all the work beforehand, and if RI has questions, you must answer their questions. So we have 3 types of global grants. One is humanitarian, and that means it's a grant in a particular area of focus. So Humanitarian aid is an aid in action designed to save lives, alleviate suffering, and maintain and protect human dignity. Comes from the Truman document, 1949. Just to bring it back down to Rotary language, we're doing something to make lives better in a community, right? Just doing something to make lives better. So the areas of focus are peace, conflict prevention, resolution, disease prevention and treatment, water and sanitation, maternal and child health, basic education and literacy, and economic and community development. We've all been involved in grants long enough that we know what these 6 areas of focus are. There's policy statements online. It's all on the foundation page. The specific wording is important. Some clubs try and do them all in one grant, right? Please don't do that. It's because the specific wording is really important. Pick one area of focus and then elaborate on that one. Because quite often they cross boundaries, for sure. But focus your attention on that one area of focus, on what your grant proposal is going to do in that particular area. More isn't necessarily better. First come, first serve. It is not competitive. And you must do everything that you say you're going to do. That's the key. Global grants are community-driven, designed by the host, community based upon needs they have identified. So when you write a grant, you're the international partner, and the recipient is the host partner. Okay? You work with the host club. It requires you have a host club. You need to work with that host club. The project's based on community need. It's not imposed. And you assess the resources of your club and your potential partners. My goodness, when we look around at our clubs, we have such a rich body of resources available to us. And that's why we say, please get more than 1 or 2 people involved in the grant process. Have as many people as you can trained, and then use their expertise. Active participation, not just check writing, okay, Rotarian participation, international and hosts. Stewardship is key. You work with cooperating organizations, but you need an MOU with that cooperating organization. And the MOU identifies who's doing what, how, when, and who's responsible for what. Okay, and you include PR and identifying the Rotary role, because we want people to know what it is that we're doing. We want our own Rotarians to know what it is we're doing. It has to be sustainable, giving the community the skills and knowledge to maintain project outcomes for a long term after the grant funds have been expended. It has to be a standalone project. We can't fund something year after year after year where the community never, ever gets to the point of being an independent body. They're constantly dependent upon our donations. That's charity. That's not community development. We are into community development. There has to be plans for maintenance and financing, and the outcome has to be measurable. Project and financing. There's a minimum $10,000 contribution. It doesn't have to come from one club. But this is the formula, and the formula works from a little bit of money all the way up to a $200,000 grant, right? The clubs contribute, let's say one club or a couple of clubs contribute a body of money that's $10,000. The district matches 100% up to $15,000. We cap DDF at $15,000. The reason we do that is so that we can approve more and more grants. We want your clubs, all of your clubs, we have 90 clubs, we want you all to have the opportunity to participate in these grants. The Rotary Foundation matches 50% of club money and 100% of district money. So the club at $10,000, the foundation will match 50%, right? So there's $10,000 of club money. There's $10,000 of DDF. There's $5,000 from the $10,000 of club money, and there's $10,000 matching from RI DDF, gives you a total of $35,000. Whether you're, if you're just, it's multiples then. If you can raise $30,000, then the end result is that much more. Financing guidelines, contributions raised by Rotarians. RI will not match monies that are not raised by Rotarians. Right? Funds cannot be raised from beneficiaries in exchange for a grant, can't come from other grants, can't get a community grant to use the money for a global grant. Contributions are credited to the donor, right? And we want to avoid conflicts of interest.
What do you mean credited to the donor?
To the donor club.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Judy, I've heard it said twice today that you can't use contributions from another, I think you mentioned a Boys and Girls Club a while ago.
Yeah.
But they can give the money to Rotary, can't they?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? It's not matched by RI. That's what we're saying. The Boys and Girls Club can give money to your club. If you want to have a joint project and Boys and Girls Club want to participate, they can, of course. You're not going to say no. It's just that RI is not going to match it. Okay? RI won't match it. That's a separate body. That's not money raised by Rotarians.
No, but we're doing a fundraiser.
Yep.
Another organization gives to our fundraiser. Do we then?
Oh, if your fundraiser raises the money, that's a different story. Right? Is that right? Okay. Well, I guess what we're saying is, okay, so you, in your club, you get $10,000 from your club is raised through their fundraisers, and you're doing something, let's say it's going to benefit Boys and Girls Club over in Tanzania, right? And so the Boys and Girls Club here says, okay, we'll join in, we'll give you $10,000. RI is going to match the money that you Rotarians have raised. They're not going to negate that $10,000 that from Boys and Girls Club. That's part of your funding plan. That's why when you look at a funding plan, you see pockets of money coming from all over. But it's not all of those pockets of money that's matched by RI. And we won't match it either. We'll only match the money that you've raised. Is that clear? Yeah. Well, you're getting a little fuzzy there, so we have to. You know what we have a saying is we're not in the business of laundering money, so we have to try and be as upfront and transparent as possible, right? So there's always ways of getting around things, always, always, always. But we have to remember the four-way test. Okay, we're Rotarians. Okay, funding restrictions again. Right? Terms and conditions are available. We cannot fund any of the following. We can't fund purchase of land or building, the purchase of construction or additions to structures in which people live or work, operated admin or indirect program costs of another organization. We can budget for project admin, and we can budget for simple schools and low-cost housing. But those criteria are brand new, and those criteria are they will be on the website. We're getting them all posted so that you can understand what that's all about. So there are references for you. I recommend that you download them and read them. Now, if the younger ones can read them online, me, if I want something, I have to print it off so that I can highlight what's important. So whatever your learning style is. Okay, the life cycle of a grant. Okay, we start off inputting the application. Okay, hopefully you start off by sending me a little bit of a heads up saying, you know what, Judy, where are you in your funding? How much money do you have? Is there any money left this year? This is what most people do. Is there any money left this year? This is what I'd like to do. And I'll have a look at it and I'll say, you know what, if you can get your grant application completed, 100% completed, I can tell you right now I have $109,000 that's sitting in a pocket. All right. However, I also have the same number in grants waiting for that money to be assigned to them. That money cannot be assigned to them until their application is fully completed and submitted, and then it's authorized. But I say to them, you know what, you are in queue. I can tag that money for you. I will tell you that if you complete by the end of the year, I will authorize that money. But if you cannot complete by the end of the year, I can tell you that I will tag that money for you in the next year. I'm not going to hold back money on someone with a promise to complete when you can see that they're a long way off when other clubs have completed. Okay? So I don't want to send any money back to RI. We want to use up all of that $109,000. And the way it stands now, if all of these global grants are in queue, if they're completed, we will have spent that $109,000 with only 1 or 2 carried over for next year. Is that clear? Okay, because we want to spread that money out. So that's at this part, right? The application is submitted online, okay? And then staff looks at it. Me too, I look at it and I watch it, right? If there's any misinformation, the staff will send you a letter, an email saying, you know, we need this, this, and this, okay? Applications are then forwarded for a secondary review. Sponsors receive notification of approval, an announcement letter, and payment instructions. If everybody does their homework, you could have this part completed in 4 weeks. But that's a mighty big if. That's a mighty big if, because some of the pitfalls are it's hard to get your host partners to get their authorizations in. You're doing the work, so you've got the funding, you've got your budget, you've got your partners, you have all of that done. But if your host club hasn't done their homework or having trouble getting all of their authorizations in, it holds up the package, okay? So, but once it is approved, it's approved by RI, not by me, okay? Okay, then it's a payment phase. And they tell you, you know, you have to provide a bank account and let them know where the money's going. You have to have the payments processed, and then there's the reporting phase. And that's really important because our district is monitored every few months on who is late in their reports. And we get big, you know, I get big Excel spreadsheets with these red red things that we don't like to see. Now we usually have a 97% reporting accuracy and on time. We've dropped to 90% because there's 1 or 2 clubs that have been a little bit tardy. We have a fantastic stewardship team. Doug Pearson is our stewardship chair, but he's still in the learning phase because it's a huge job. So Ken Parsons from last year is still helping Doug, and he runs reports, and he will be sending letters if anybody's late, right? Because it makes you wonder if you're late. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason, okay? And then there's the final reporting, right? So, oops, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Pardon?
Question?
Yes?
So on the reporting, go back to the letter that goes to the club when the club is late.
Yes?
Who does that letter go to?
When the club is late, it comes from the steward. It goes to the grant writer.
So it doesn't go to the club president. If the grant writer's a one-up, nobody else in the club is going to know that he's late.
Exactly, and that's where you run into problems. And that's why we stress that you need to have an International World Community Service Committee. You need to have a body of individuals within your club that know exactly what you're doing.
But if the president is responsible for the board and the expenditure of the monies and so forth, can the president be informed of that?
Late report? Yeah, sure. Because the bottom line is it's not the president personally that's responsible, it's the club that's responsible, right? So the club really, a club is not one person. A club is a body of people. So any decisions made by the club should involve that body of people. And we're hoping to get beyond this. There is a culture where one person runs the club. One person actually can hold a club hostage as far as grant writing is concerned, and that is happening right now because we have a regulation. You can not have any more than 4 open global grants at any one time, no more than 3 in any one year. So we do have clubs that have 4 open grants, which means that anyone else within that club that has a wonderful idea for a grant proposal cannot submit it. No one in that club can submit another grant until at least 2 grants have been closed. That's not right. I mean, it's not right that the club has allowed this to happen, right? So the clubs really have to take a look at their culture as far as grants are concerned. Okay?
Judy, a question on that.
Yeah.
Does TRF say how many your hosts can have?
No.
I thought they could have like 10.
No, TRF is out of it. They don't care how many you have.
Not us, but the hosts.
No, they don't care how many the hosts have either. It's performance.
Okay.
It's performance. So if they're continually late, they will be put on suspension, right? They will be put on suspension. So, yeah, they put on the bad boys list. Okay.
But again, just to press the point, if
Yeah.
there's only one person that the grant community at the district level is talking to,
Yeah.
at the club level, and that person is not the club president, then the club doesn't know that there's a problem.
Yeah, so yes, except that there's a committee, there's committee participants listing on the RI site, on the grant site, the grant application. So if there's a problem, it's not only the grant writer that knows, it's the other people that are mentioned on the committee, and there has to be a couple of other people, as well as the host partners. No, everybody that's involved in the grant is notified that there's a problem with this grant. So a late report, they're notified too. But as far as going outside of what's there from RI, they're not notified.
So as a new foundation chair learning about grants,
Yeah.
there's a place I can go, the TRF, to find out who is on the grant application, who's on the list for that grant for my club. I can see that.
You know what? You can. You can go to the specific grant itself. It has a grant number. You can go to that. You can open up and have a look. You can't change it, but you can have a look. Okay? And I would advise you to have a look. It can be enlightening. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, now we've talked about humanitarian. Now we're going to go to little hidden gems. So this is John Huff, John Huff is our scholarship chair, and he's going to talk to you about the scholarship. There we go. Transfer it. I hold it because I don't have pocket. This takes it forward. Okay, this takes it forward, and then Shirley's forward.
Great. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Judy and Mike and I do the envious duty of speaking right after lunch, where everybody's sitting there feeling mellow, and the only thing worse was a couple years ago I was speaking at a conference at Lake Chelan. And if you don't know where that's at, it's a beautiful lake in eastern Washington. Summertime. I was the next to last speaker in the afternoon. By the time I got done talking, there was only one other person in the room, which is, I guess, a comment on my speech. But so I went over to him and I said, you know, thank you for sticking around. I appreciate it. And he said, well, you can return the favor. I'm the next speaker. So anyway, we're going to talk now against some kind of specialized area of global grants. And the first is Rotary scholarships. And Rotary did me a favor of sending out a scholarship recipient who spoke to us at lunch today and explained what great value there is in Rotary scholarships. And here's the district committee. As you can see by the people, the district places a lot of emphasis on this. And Rose Bowman was an active participant for many years, but unfortunately she passed away a few days ago. But you can see here the breadth of the committee and the importance the district places in this. So there's basically 3 types of Rotary scholarships. They're all for postgraduate study, for people who already have a BA, or like next week we'll get a BA kind of thing. So each has a little bit of different twist to it. The district Rotary Ambassadorial Scholarship, and I think Bill mentioned this morning, this used to be a term Rotary International used, but they stopped at it. But the district felt these scholarships were so important. The district stepped up and will fund a $15,000 scholarship for postgraduate study in a humanitarian area. It doesn't have to be within Rotary's 6 areas of focus. It doesn't have to be at a specific university, except the studies must be outside North America, the U.S. or Canada. So right now, for example, we have an ambassadorial scholar studying in Edinburgh at the University of Edinburgh. Next year's scholar will be studying in London. So that's just a couple examples. But it's a pretty broad area of study, and the district has sole discretion in whether to award the scholarship or not. So one of the things we have trouble doing is getting word out about the availability of the scholarship. So if any of you know a young person who might qualify, please talk to them about maybe looking at this.
Does this lead to an advanced degree or just a year of study, or is there a requirement?
Right. The question is, does it lead to an advanced degree or what? The ideal is it lead to a master's degree in whatever area the student chooses. So man, it's, electrical engineering, probably not, but humanitarian is a pretty broad category. There are a few exceptions where it's a unique certificate program that involves a substantial graduate level study, but the goal is a MA. So here's basically the requirements for someone to apply and be accepted. Has to be sponsored by a club in our district. That the club has no financial obligation, but the first level of review, if you will, is a club sponsorship. And many clubs actually have a little committee that will interview the person and that. And so when it comes to the district level, it's on the recommendation of a club that this person is a worthy candidate. They have to be a legal resident of the district. Now, with all of us with school and military and that, we were traveling all over, but still our legal residence was, where our parents lived or whatever. So the person could be going to school in Toronto, but as long as they kept their legal resident in Victoria, for example, they're still, that's where they put down as home, that's where they're registered to vote, et cetera, et cetera. Because of nonprofit rules, the applicant cannot be a Rotarian or a direct lineal descendant. That's not our rule, that's the government's rule for nonprofits. Because of the timing issues, the application should be submitted to the scholarship committee no later than September 15. Sir?
So we have Rotary, does that include Rotary students as well?
We haven't used that. So if you're in RotaAct, you're not technically a Rotarian yet. So that would be fine. Our millennial there says yay, For studies commencing after July 1st the following year. So typically the studies start in the fall, September or so, but the student needs to understand because of the Rotary's fiscal year, they don't get the funds until after July 1st. They must be made available for interview, and a lot of times it's by Skype. So if it's a big imposition for the person to appear personally, we're happy to do it by Skype. We had an interview yesterday with a young man from Victoria who's applying for a Peace Fellowship by Skype. Last year we had interviewed 2 candidates for the ambassadorial scholarship. One was in New Zealand and one was in Hong Kong for a wedding. So, you know, but they have to make themselves available. And there's a lot of more information on the district website. Just go on to the district website, go over to the left-hand side of the page, scroll down to scholarships, or you can just Google District 5020 scholarships, take you there too. A lot of good information. So our current ambassadorial scholarship is Anya Ebner, just winding up her year at the University of Glasgow. Interestingly enough, her area of interest, of career, is focusing on stolen art and artifacts, the international trafficking of stolen artifacts, and her job is, you know, her goal is to work with UNESCO or some other Interpol or some other agency. Quite an interesting young woman. So the next step up is a global grant scholarship, which is part of the global grant process. You can see the $30,000 number, $15,000 from the district and $15,000 from TRF. But because TRF money is involved, the area of study must be within the 6 areas of focus. Actually, it would be, I think it would be hard to say anything a Rotarian-oriented person would be interested in studying doesn't come within the 6 areas of focus, but that's an art requirement. Application qualifications are the same. Person has to live in the district, has to be sponsored by a local Rotary club, and there has to be an individual in that sponsoring club who becomes the student's mentor and primary contract. So that's a fairly responsible position. And once again, the clubs don't have any financial obligation other than supporting the student that they're sponsoring. So here's a list of some of the past global scholars. You can see the range of study they've engaged in. And it's a somewhat competitive process, so these are really stellar folks. Then we have a fairly specialized scholarship, a Rotary Peace Fellowship. And as I mentioned yesterday, we interviewed a young man who's going to now be referred up to the Rotary Foundation. We don't decide who it is. It's very competitive, but TRF and the university they want to go to decide whether to accept somebody or not. But it's for study with peace and conflict resolution, 5 leading universities around the world. They have to study outside their home country, like many of the scholarships. So, but this is super competitive, so if you talk to somebody who might be interested in that, make sure that they've got the background that would make them a viable candidate for this kind of scholarship. And on RI's website, there's a lot of information about this and global grant scholarships as well. So if you're interested, you can go there too. So this is the process for Peace Fellow applicants. It's a little different time cycle than the district scholarship and the global grant scholarship. But once again, the applicant has to be, for us to sponsor them, a legal resident of the district. So we've been fairly successful in placing Rotary Peace Fellows, some really stellar young people out of our district from both sides of the border. And there's my contact information. And sometimes it's easier to start. Victoria Pitt, who's the outgoing chair, has done a stellar job, is still on the committee, and if you're on the island, and you have an island candidate, it might be good to contact Victoria too. But there's my contact information. My information is also on the district website. So, any questions? Yes?
Do the scholarships qualify for doctoral studies or just master's?
They can qualify for doctoral studies. The key is postgraduate. It's not undergraduate work. Yes, sir. There's one, from RI for the Peace Scholarships. I think, they have several dozen Peace Scholars every year. In terms of our district is basically one a year, because it costs us $15,000. So it can be either an ambassadorial scholarship where it's just the district's money, $15,000, or a global grant scholar where we put in 15 and RI puts in 15. So I think as somebody mentioned earlier this morning, we have 15,000 set aside. Depends how it gets spent. So there's one student a year, basically. Yes, sir.
John, I noticed that there were a lot of candidates that came from sponsored by the Oak Bay, Victoria, Rotary. Is that because the University of Victoria is right there?
I don't know that that's the case, but like many of the things we are involved in, an active club gets more involvement. So they've been very good about identifying potential candidates and pushing them forward. Yes.
I think Vicki Pitt is in that club.
Oh, okay. David said Vicki Pitt's in the Oak Bay Club, so that might explain that. I was going to say it takes an interested Rotarian, but obviously she's very interested in this. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So, we have trouble getting the word on these scholarships out. We've contacted the four-year universities in Washington and BC to let them know about the program. There was an article in the last district newsletter. I won't embarrass myself by asking you how many actually saw it. But, you're our best advocates. Go home and start thinking about who is getting ready to graduate or has just graduated from college and might make a good candidate for one of these scholarships. Anything else? Yes, sir. Okay. My contact information is on the district website, where you go to the district officers, and if you go down way to the bottom, that's where I'm at. Yes. Yeah, it's part of the PowerPoint for the conference. But basically, if you want to take a note, it's just my name, John W. Hough @comcast.net. So it's not too tricky. Yes.
Can you define lineal descendant?
Can I define lineal descendant? Yeah, it's basically a child or a niece or nephew. A third shirt-tail cousin doesn't count, but yes. Grandchild would count. Great-grandchild would count. Dennis? Yes. Yep. And next up is Michael to talk about vocational training teams. And I have to say, for 6 years, I was responsible for VTT teams And I'm just pleased as punch that Michael's taking that over. Yeah, he led a VT team to Bolivia to train dental technicians. Maybe he'll tell you a little bit about that. But here's Michael.
I'm not sure where, okay, never mind. So you click this right here.
Yeah, I have mine there. It looks fine. Here? Yeah.
That way. Now, is it on? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Does that mean I have to put my head down like this? Or can I? Oh, yeah, it does. Am I all right now? Okay. So, we're going to talk about vocational training. Oh, we have a pointer. It works. Vocational training team, it's a group of professionals who travel to a developing country to teach local professionals or others about a skill within the 6 areas of focus. It's actually just kind of a variation of a global grant, or maybe combined with a global grant. So what we do with VTT is try to build capacity in a sustainable way with a reliable host club. So the requirements for a global grant apply to the requirements for a vocational training team. Trains people to solve problems and improve quality of life. Example, for maternal health and care, medical team trained midwives to reduce infant mortality. Another multidisciplinary team trained villagers to manage and maintain a sanitation system. As you can see, if you have a water project, you actually can combine a vocational training team with a water project to train the people to care for it. Tangible projects are not within VTT, but might make a good partner project, and that's what we're talking about, combining global grant type projects with training. The VTT project may stand alone, not combined with a global project. One of the others here with more experience and longevity might be able to tell me when that was done. A medical team to train local health professionals, and that would be a standalone project. Could be a standalone project, although my project to Bolivia was not standalone, and it was a medical dental team actually to train people. So as I said, it can be paired with another global grant project. It's funded by the club, district, and Rotary funds, very similar to the way the global grants are funded. The minimums are the same. There's a special couple of little details that'll be of interest to you. Project must be within the area of focus, just like any global grant. It must be capacity building and sustainable. There has to be a minimum of 1 Rotarian team leader and 2 Rotarian or non-Rotarian team members. That little requirement is how I got to Bolivia. Team leader must be a district club member and preferably all team members. Well, I wouldn't say it was only that requirement, because that requirement included 2. So how many dentists do you find that are Rotarians in District 5020 who have the skills linked to the grant of being a dentist, going to Bolivia and having international travel, which was one of the things they wanted, and had the time to go there for a couple of weeks? So I don't know if I was the only one. Must meet the requirements for a vocational training team project, and as you see, as I mentioned, the funding, I'm not going to go over this in detail, but it ends up, it's the same as a global grant. So you end up, the minimum budget is $35,000. So the club can contribute 15, match 15, and then 1.5 times more, so it ends up being 3.5 times, right? Just like the last slide. Any questions on that? I mean, the last time we heard this one. Okay, moving on. Maybe.
Does that funding include airfare and that kind of thing?
Very interesting. There is an exception here for vocational training teams. Not like global grants. In order to send the team, you can provide transportation and food and lodging. Okay? That's the way I understand it, right? Okay. Can be funded just by a district community grant, which, of course, as you already know, simplifies the project considerably, but limits the amount of money. Okay? So, again, steps: locate a reliable host club, focus on needs that the community itself is interested, and select a well-qualified team. The host club, this is where you will want to put in your MOU. You need a reliable contact person, a clear understanding of the scope and goals, a clear understanding of funding arrangements. In other words, they ought to know they're not getting the money exactly, the beneficiary may not be getting the money, and a detailed team itinerary. From my project, this was a really important issue. Working with an NGO, that can provide expertise and local resources. The Rotary must receive fair credit for the projects. All funds must flow through the Rotary clubs, and there must be, as usual, no conflict of interest. I think without help from NGOs, many of our projects would have a great deal more difficulty. So they are important partners in some of these projects, and certainly were a key partner in my project to Bolivia. It wasn't actually my project, I was just on it. Yes?
Needs assessment, you haven't talked about that yet.
No, I haven't talked about that. No. It's kind of not my part of it, the needs assessment. I'm just talking about the VTT. I could just tell you off the top of my head how they were done from my experience, just with the VTT project and a current community grant project that I'm involved in. And basically in both cases, the needs assessment came through NGOs who were working directly with the people in that community, and we were able either to confirm that they had done this before and the community was responsive to it. Well, actually in both cases, we were able to confirm that they had done something similar before and the community was responsive to what they had done. That's how we did it. I'm sure there are other ways and maybe even better ways to do it. Okay, there's information on the website, a lot of information on the website about a lot of things. There you go. Go to Rotary.org, open My Rotary, take action at the top of the page. You just pretty much, have to do this to get a feel for how it goes. And you can always call somebody and say, here I am at My Rotary, where's the take action button? Or, stuff like that. You can call lots of people on that. Me, if you have my number, but you won't. But you can. But maybe next year you will. I'll get a slide in there with my name on it. Global grants we'll get from the drop-down menu, and then you can go to activities, and that's where you get there. And then once you're into a grant, then you can select your grant, and then that shows up on the button, and if you're qualified, you can punch into your grant and see what's going on there. Does anybody else with experience have anything to add to that? Yes? No? Okay. I know that really basically. Basically, you just have to push the buttons and see what happens, and you'll get there. Identify a reliable host district. That's it. So first step was assess the needs. Second step, get a reliable host. And yeah, you'll see am I going to be presenting that little bit of that Bolivia trip?
I think they'd be interested to hear about it. Sure.
Okay. Oh, okay then. Then I won't do. I'll do some of that later in that thing. Okay, identify, third step is identify actually what the project is, how it's going to take shape, and what you expect the outcome to be. Then identify a team leader, which again, as I pointed out, that's how I got to go to Bolivia. They identified it the only person qualified in District 5020 and available. So then you develop a budget, and you do that in conjunction with the NGO you're working with, the host partner, and your own research, which is basically with the community grant. That's what ended up with my community grant. I did all the research for it. And develop a detailed itinerary. The district VTT role is to support the club projects, give advice and counsel, which apparently is me since I've done one now. Get project approval and provide matching funds. And of course, that's an important part, and that's not as hard as you might think. It's just getting everything together, sending it out. Bottom line, a successful VTT project increases the capacity of the host community to solve problems and improve its quality of life over the long term. Ta-da. Oh, you have my contact information. Ta-da. Thank you. Thank you. At least my email. So you can email me there, and if you want to talk to me, I'll actually send you my telephone number. So whichever one you want. Any questions? Yes?
On the Rotarian participation,
Yes.
that requires a Rotarian from the international,
No, from the district.
from the district. It
Yes.
can't be from the host.
No. Yes?
Is there often a reciprocal team coming the other way?
No.
Because I know that happened once with the Philippines.
Not a necessary requirement. No.
Not necessary.
It's not an exchange program. You guys, with experience, correct me if I ever say anything wrong. Go ahead. Anything else? Any other? Yes?
Just another clarification on the VTT members from District 5020. Only one needs to be from 5020?
Only one needs to be. It would be nice to have more, but
Nice to have all, but one is okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yes?
Michael, does Rotary International have a listing of host Rotary clubs around the world that are looking for VTTs to come to visit?
There is a list of host Rotary clubs. I've seen it. So you can get that. As to whether they're approved for VTT, I think that's an individual application, right? Yeah. So no, you get approval later. Anything else? Oh, okay.
We'll have to load your Bolivian pictures.
Yes.
So how about we'll do it at the end of the
Yes,
session?
and-
Because we're really scared.
Bobby's ready to load it.
Anything up.
Yeah,
We don't,
okay.
we don't want to mess anything
Bobby's
up.
ready. She's
Yeah.
ready.
We'll finish this grant portion, and then at the break,
You don't need my name tag.
because we have learned that we are technologically challenged, and we are a great stressor for Bobby Ann.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you. Why did that go off? Okay, so while she's fixing that, and we didn't even need to do anything, see how touchy it is, I just want to make 2 points. First off, as far as the scholarships are concerned, we are very active in having a scholar every year. And most often, when we select an ambassadorial scholar, that person is of the quality that we decide to put them forth for a global scholar. So that happens more often than not. So that's one point. Bobby Ann, this is for you, our current, this year's ambassadorial scholar that will be going to London next year is a Rotaractor. Okay? So that's a good thing. And for a district, for us, this will be our 3rd Peace Scholar submission. 2 are successful. We don't know. We can't say this one will be. He's a prime candidate. That's not out of our hands, but we're putting him forth. So, we have to be pretty darn proud. Every year, our district, out of DDF, out of the community grants DDF, we isolate $15,000 for the ambassadorial scholar program because we think it is so important. Okay. out of our World Fund DDF on the other side of the page, we isolate $25,000 a year to support the Peace Scholar program. We are one of the original Peace districts, which is a huge source of pride for this district. So we not only, generate a lot of interest in our communities regarding the scholarship programs, we also, the district, we put our money where our mouth is, and we also support those programs. So that's one thing. As far as VTT, we have had a standalone. It was our first VTT to the Philippines when Bob Martin was governor. He had I think it was a science teachers training program. So we sent a team over to the Philippines, and they went into the schools and trained, and then they brought the teachers back here and furthered their training to the States. It was stateside Philippines. So that was our one. And then we've been having a great deal of difficulty generating interest in VTT because Rotarians didn't understand it. And I personally have a hard time with that, because when we are preparing a global grant, we all know sustainability means training. Why aren't we building in a VTT component to our larger global grants, right? It just makes sense, doesn't it? It just makes sense to send the money, send the expertise, then you know for sure the training is done according to how it's outlined. So that's food for thought for you. Okay? Are we operational? Let's see. 10 ways to improve your global grant application. This young woman she is so valuable to us. We owe her a great debt of gratitude. So there's the global grant process, as I indicated before, is not rocket science. It just takes doing your homework. And there's ways that you can be more successful, right? For one, we know already it's long-term, sustainable, and it has to align within the area of focus. It has to have an international partnership, and it's a World Fund match. That part we know, okay? And we know it has to fit into the areas of focus. We all know what those are. We've been working within the areas of focus for a few years now, okay? But the application is what scares a lot of people, okay? So it's easy. You go online and you follow the directions. There's no application deadline. You can do it at any time. Not like our DTA, our community grants does have a deadline because it has to be started and finished in one Rotary year. This does not. The only time that there's any kind of a deadline is if your grant is going to involve travel. And then it has to be within 90 days prior to that travel, so that they're able to review it, approve it, and then make travel arrangements. Okay? And this is where you go, right? You go to the Rotary Grant Center. Rotary, www.rotary.org, right? Click on My Rotary, click on Take Action, move over, go to Global Grants, and bingo, you're there. Okay? But you have to do a needs assessment. You have to conduct a thorough assessment of the community needs and strengths. You have to talk to the community members directly, right? The chiefs, the elders, the doctors, the whomever is prominent within that community. And you have to start with a needs assessment rather than a project plan. In fact, as of July 1 this year, all humanitarian and vocational global grants must have a community assessment component. It's not a nice to have anymore, it's a must have. And that just came out within this past week from RI. Okay, we all know the areas of focus. You know that there's a policy statement online. In fact, when you go into the global grants portion, on your right-hand side, all of your documentation is there. You can download it. Everything is there. Right? You have to have a detailed project plan. Who's going to do what by what time? And you have to involve the beneficiaries. Right? You draw this plan together with your hosts. right? Rotarian involvement, detailed list of tasks for both host and international. Okay, your budget, detailed budget with the vendor information, and explain how your vendors were selected. That's pretty important. Okay, it has to be sustainable, and you clearly explain the specific sustainability components, and there's a special form, right? So you can fill that in. It's blurry, I know, it's not good. It's because we take a screenshot and try and make it bigger and it doesn't work very well. Okay, the budget, you have to have a detail. Did I go backwards? Oh dear. Okay, I thought I did. Okay, training information. Detailed information for each training opportunity. How many times? What is the curricula? What's the target audience, right? Children, adults, community, total community members, and who's going to do the training? This is ideal for a VTT, right here. Ideal. But it doesn't have to be. If your grant is of lesser size as far as money is concerned, it doesn't have to be a VTT. But you do have to be specific about what you're going to teach, how you're going to teach it, and when are you going to do it. And again, this is going to be online, Dennis, so you don't have to worry. You'll probably have it much clearer than this. Okay, you have to identify your cooperating organizations, and then there is an MOU for each cooperating organization, and you make it tailor it to your specific grant application. So you make sure you're very clear on who's going to do what, when, how, who's responsible for what. That's so important. In our issue brought up by Bill McCarthy, there is a component in the MOU with the host partner stating that the host district could pick up, right? So they bear some responsibility. We need to have that very, very clear. Okay, and then how are you going to measure and evaluate your project? Because once it's completed, you have to see, did we do what we say we're going to do? Did it provide the benefit that we said or we thought was going to provide? And then complete the entire application. You don't know how many applications sit there with nothing done. And again, at the 12-month time, if nothing's been done in 12 months, RI cancels it. And please, we've had a situation where one person was trained in a club. The club, okay, that person entered a grant application. There was quite a bit of information, but it didn't go completely the way this person wanted it to go. So we had it on hold. But then the next time I checked the application, they changed the grant writer. They erased all the body, put in a different grant writer that wasn't qualified, and it just sat there. And then RI notified them it's going to be canceled. You can't do that. You know, there's a number of reasons why you think that you need to do something, but the bottom line is the grant writer has to be a qualified person or a member of a committee that's qualified. And when you fill in a grant, you need to complete that grant and let us help you. We'll help you move it along, get it on its way, and make sure that you're successful. But if you start grants and then don't complete them, it ties you up. And if you get 4 of them, nobody else in your club can write a grant either. So just little things that can go wrong. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Resources. Again, Michael said there's lots and lots and lots of resources for you. Takes lots of, and they're easy to find, right? And it could be frustrating, but personally, I have to print it off and I highlight what's important, stick it up on my bulletin board, and then I don't have to go back to this all the time. But I have to tell you that the Learning Center gives a lot of information. Rotary Support Center, they are fabulous. They will help you out. And if you're really having issues, and let's say you're having issues with the areas of focus, the specific wording, things aren't working for you, you can call the grant staff and they will spend a lot of time with you. They're there to help you. They want you to succeed. They want to make sure that those grants are completed. Oh, busted! You're busted! Okay. Okay, so here's your first step. This is what you do. Okay, go to the website. All right? Go to the website, and you all should have a password. I'm sure you do. If you have club website, go to My Rotary, click that on, and put in your password. Right? Now you're in My Rotary. Go to take action right there.
This is the district.
Nope. Nope. This is My Rotary. Rotary.org. www.rotary.org. This is for global grants. You don't go to, you can't do anything for global grants on our 5020 website. That's just for community grants. 5020 is community grants. This is global. This is RI. Okay? So you go to take action, right? And then you go to your grant application tool. See, apply for grants. Right? And then you just follow the process. It starts with a nice friendly welcome page. Welcome tells you a little bit about what the global grants are, activities funded, how they're accepted, pages outline components, and if you have questions, either go to the grant management module or contact us. Yes? Rand?
There used to be a facility that Bill did a couple of years ago where you could put in like a dummy grant for practice.
No, we don't do that anymore. No. No. No, we don't. And you know why? Because once it's in, you can't get rid of it. So you're going to have a lot of dummy grants in there. Yeah. Yeah. No, we don't do that anymore. And there's lots of help. Like, you can always go in and edit, and if you make a mistake and you lock something, you as a grant writer can unlock it, and I can always unlock it. So if something has changed, circumstances have changed, and that happens, right? Sometimes your funding falls through, or you get a windfall, so it increases, right? And more often it's falling through. But but I can edit it. If you need to change it, and because your circumstances change and you need to change it, just call me. I can unlock it, and then you can edit it.
Another question, you mentioned earlier that if someone writes a grant or starts it,
yeah.
The grant writer changes for some reason, maybe the person moved out of town and somebody else has to take it over, as long as the person is taking it over, if it's a new grant writer, as long as he or she is qualified, is that acceptable?
Yes, absolutely.
So
you can change it. And that would be a circumstance that it would be a good idea to contact me if it's locked, right? If it's not unlocked, it's still beige. If it's blue, then it's a little easier. Well, maybe you can still edit it. But if you've locked it, you can't edit it. So I can, there are ways. If you can't get in to change it, you call me and I'll unlock it for you. Okay? All right, and it's a contact us. And there's a contact us link. So you just, hit that. It'll send them an email, and they will get in touch with you. Okay, so again, same references over and over and over again. These bodies of information are very valuable to you. For Canadians, I know we don't have very many Canadians here, but there is a $1.2 million fund set annually for the next 5 years for matching grants. Club contributions and DDF are matched 1-to-1. This is a windfall for Canadian clubs. TRF to match Government of Canada funds at the same rate as cash contributions. That's a bigger windfall. 5 out of 6 areas of focus, with the exception of peace and conflict resolution. So the 5 areas of focus other than peace and conflict. Child and maternal health is the preferred area of focus. Eligibility restrictions include, you can't do scholarships, right? No construction of any kind, no purchase of vehicles or major medical equipment. And there is a listing of preferred countries, right? Okay, so all presidents of Canadian clubs were sent this fact sheet, an information sheet. This has nothing to do with us, right? It's all gone right to the president. It's at the club level. So what they really like to see is gender equality issues, environmental sustainability, good governance to be taken into account in all projects. Priority countries are identified. TRF Canada will forward Government of Canada funds to TRF It's a simple process. You get approved, our government sends it right to Rotary Foundation. Rotary Foundation initiates, Canada, is to initiate annual call for proposals until the funds are expended. So Government of Canada sends letter out to all the presidents. Presidents then must send a proposal, a letter of intent to this fund to see whether their proposal will be accepted.
Will that occur every year so that the new president will get that letter?
Should, last year it started?
Yes.
Yes, so you should be getting it this year. Yep. Okay. Global grant requirements regarding grant administration reporting and stewardship applies. And a call for proposal letter was sent to all Canadian club presidents. So it was sent last year and it will be sent every year because it's a 5-year program. It's fabulous. Okay, again, Rotary resources. Left-hand side of the page, all district links, Rotary Foundation Canada. Top banner, Government of Canada, all program information is available. So go to rotary5020.org, look on the left-hand side of the page, and where we have district links, you can click on Rotary Foundation Canada, and the top banner, you know you got the right page when you see the big banner, Government of Canada, and that's where you find out the specifics, okay? Now, questions? Yes?
I've been trying to keep sitting in my Rotary right now.
Yep.
I'm trying to see the grants that are out of my club, and all I can see is district grants at my Rotary. What's going wrong here? Can I not see the status of all grants that my club has part?
I'll walk you through that after. Okay. All right. Yes, Peter.
I have a comment about the memorandum of understanding. It indicated a little while ago that you should have one with each partner organization.
Yes.
But I would say that it's important to have an omnibus MOU that refers to all the partners. So say you've got a project in a country where you're teaching community members to do community gardening. You've got the Rotary Club, you've got the Agricultural College, you've got an expat who lives there that was a farmer, and you've got somebody else who was an expat who was an agricultural economist, and they're all going to play their role. If you have individual MOUs that don't reference the other ones, then the retired farmer might think that their job is to get in there and teach everybody, but in fact it's the college that's supposed to do that, and the expat just supposed to advise the college. So if they don't all do everybody's role,
Yeah.
they could get confused.
Okay, you're referring to the global grants.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's an RI requirement. So you would have to write that into your proposal, and then RI is going to ask you questions, and they're going to be the final decision makers. We don't have that authority. For a global grant, it's RI that makes the decisions, not us. Okay, so if you can present your case well enough, Peter, there's a challenge for you. You might get it approved. And if anybody can, you can. So, but that's the bottom line. Okay, Robert. Yeah. No, they'd be in Canadian dollars. Canadian dollars. It's Government of Canada. Yeah. Everything happens in U.S. dollars. All contributions come in right? When we write a grant for to go to TRF, and never mind Government of Canada, right? Your Rotary Club, it's your budget's in U.S. dollars. Yeah. But with the Government of Canada monies, I believe it's Canadian dollars. Yeah. 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 Okay, David, you were next.
For the vocational training team, can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
You talked about the community assessment.
Yes.
Can that be subcontracted to people like the Water and Sanitation Rotarian Action Group? In other words, if they provide, they have boots on the ground in Papua New Guinea. John's going to back me up on some of this, and they have assessed the needs in various communities. Does the Rotarian Action Group on microcredit? Does because.
I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the answer to that. That would be, again, that would be an RI decision. They would make the final decision, not us. That would have to be part of your proposal, and they would have to make the decision on that.
Okay, and also for a district, a community grant, would the district accept subcontracting of the needs assessment to Dragon or Wasrat?
Well, remember, you're only dealing with a $3,500 grant. How far is that going to get you?
A lot of people in the world are really happy to see $3,500.
Well, David, that would have to be a case by case. Bob?
That was, in essence, subcontracted to the local mayor and council.
Yeah. No, you're not subcontracting.
Well, accept it now.
Yeah, validated, yeah. And where's the vote? I don't understand where the VTT component comes in, because you mentioned VTT component. Like,
Well, in the VTT slide presented by Don, he mentioned the importance of the community assessment.
okay, there, gotcha. Okay, sorry. All right, Marion?
In the application for a global grant, what is the current status about an application for a motor vehicle? Has anybody applied, or can you give me any feedback on that?
Bob? Yeah. Yep. Any more questions? Okay, Bob?
With the emphasis on needs assessment, community needs assessment.
Yes.
Is there a vehicle for those communities out there in the world that have a need to put on like a job fair or put on a listing somewhere, say, I need help? Because
yes.
most of us are sitting here thinking we want to go help, but we don't.
Oh, yes.
Know the needs assessment.
Absolutely. Every January there's Project Uniendo. PETA, do you go to that in January? I've been a couple of times in Central America. There's also project fairs in Africa. Yes, there are every year.
But is there something like that on the web as well?
Yeah. Yes, yes. So.
A lot of these grads have their own website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's all there, and really for a motivator, there's nothing like attending one of these project fairs, because they take you to the area that they're trying to generate interest in. So it is worth your while if you want to go on a holiday. Hi.
A question on the global grants, how they interact with each other.
Yes.
How would, from a practical point of view, if you're applying for the global grant, and you know that part of that is
Mm-hmm.
you send it both at the same time, you approve each other.
Oh, there's a tab for when you're filling it in. There's one of the questions is, does this grant include VTT? And if you check yes, then a whole Dropbox of information is entered in there. So it's all part of the one global grant, just a different component. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? No? All right. We're a little bit above. It's 20 to 3. We'll have a break. And if you'll come back by 15 minutes enough, 5 to 3, because I think you'd rather get out sooner, right? So let's have a quick break, 15 minutes, because we're